Hello YouTube, it's Diffused here. So it's been brought to my attention a couple times on my stream that people don't understand some of the end game mechanics, some of the end game tempering, some of the end game things like that. So I'm going to try to explain it. Season 11 of Diablo 4. The best place to do all this is in the Heavenly Forge because everything is kind of compiled right there. Again, this is just so far for Season 11. We don't know if the Heavenly Forge is going to be in Season 12. However, we're going to start with the Blacksmith. He does things like destroying, we all know that. He does things like repairing, we all know that. You can craft some items here. I don't recommend it unless you're super far end game, so for people who are just wanting to learn this stuff, we're going to stay away from this tab for a little bit. However, one of the biggest things that people didn't know is you can temper affixes. So that's just as simple as inserting the item that you want to temper, and then you click, so say offensive, and I want damage tempered on, and you just hit temper item. This helps us with our build. Typically, if you follow a build guide, Mobalytics, I recommend that website for everything. It'll tell you what to temper on here within their website and within their builds. Now, from tempering the item, once we hit what we want, again, if we're going for damage, we want the highest number of 50%. Once we're done with that, we're going to masterwork the item. You also do that here at the blacksmith. The blacksmith with the masterworking is the same concept. We're going to put this in there, and then we'll hit the upgrade. You're going to do this with every piece of equipment that you get. Now, remember, you do need to have materials to do the masterworking, and that comes with playing the end game. Now, that's it for your blacksmith. He doesn't really offer much of anything else. Again, he's more important for tempering items and for doing our masterworking. We're going to bump over here to the jeweler. The jeweler can destroy gems. The jeweler can create gems. The jeweler can unsocket gems. We can add sockets to rings and other items. That's another thing that people didn't know. So when you want to add the socket, make sure that you add socket, again, rings, amulets, etc. Also, before you do that, I'm going to talk about a thing called sanctification for this season. Make sure that you add those before we sanctify the items. Then this is also where you runecraft, meaning this is where we make our mythic uniques. Now, the thing about mythic uniques is we must have these sparks down here in your inventory. You must have 2 of those to craft an item, and you must have the runes that drop by playing the game necessary to craft the items. The Shroud is one of the best items for, I believe, every single build this season, and I believe that Hair is one that is pretty popular this season for almost every build, and I know that the Harlequin Crest here, the Shaco, it's the same way. And the Ring of the Starless Skies. However, I'll show you, I'll pull it up here. However, you're going to need 2 sparks, as well as you're going to need a 6 BAC runes, 6 KRY runes, my apologies, and 6 MONI runes. Now, they're found by doing the endgame content, but the sparks are what you really need to come by if you want to craft those. And then you can also craft items here, which are jeweler caches, and there's also gem fragments. Again, if you want to craft gem fragments, you can craft gem fragments. That's it for the jeweler. They really don't do anything. Most important thing here that you're going to take away from this is, number 1, the adding sockets and removing things from sockets, and then number 2, the mythics when you're made it that far. Now we're going to head over here. This is where we're going to imprint all of our aspects. Our aspects are important. Why are aspects important? Again, they're part of our power. So again, these are Duelist Warlord boots. If I go here and I search the Codex of Power, I'm going to search for the Duelist aspect. We're going to search for the Duelist aspect, and it's going to come up. Once you put your boots or whatever you want the Duelist aspect on, you're going to put them in there. You're going to click the button. The item's going to be here. Codex of Power is going to say Duelist. This is what it's now going to be. You're going to hit Imprint Aspect. Again, follow Mobalytics. I'm going to post a link to Mobalytics. I recommend Mobalytics to everyone, but if you find a build planner somewhere else for a build, you want to give it a shot, they typically always have what you need to imprint from the Codex of Power. Super, super important to remember to also put the aspect on before you sanctify the item. Another thing that they do is you can create nightmare sigils here. Nightmare sigils are important for nightmare dungeons. I'll explain those in a minute. You can also salvage your nightmare dungeon keys that you do not need. And then you can enchant items. Ultimately, what does enchanting do? Again, I've explained this a couple of times. So you're going to look at the stats on your item. This ring's not the best one for me to explain it with, so let's see if I can go to this one. Okay, we're going to go to this one. So say I need dexterity for this build, I need max life for this build, and I need vulnerable damage for this build, but I don't need damage for this build. I can enchant the damage like this and see, oh, look, hey, I need resource cost reduction. All right, there we go. Or, oh, wait a minute, I don't need resource cost reduction, but I need cooldown reduction. Boom, look, 8.1 to cooldown reduction. Now I have cooldown reduction on my ring. It's important to know you can only do it with one of them, though. You cannot do it with dexterity and vulnerable damage. You cannot do it with two. You can only do it with one. Once that's done, though, again, please do that before you sanctify an item. Once that's done, and we went over here, and we have our master working completely done, and we go over here, especially because it's a ring, and we add our sockets to it, we're going to come down here, and we're going to do, this is the seasonal thing. We're going to do what we call sanctify. You're going to throw an item in there, you're going to hit the sanctify button, it's going to, look, mine added a new legendary power. How you know you sanctified it is, it's easier if I do it this way, how you know you sanctified it is, one, these little wings are down here, and two, on the bottom of mine where it says deal 13 increased damage while you have a barrier, that is my sanctification. And how I know that is because that's where my wings are. Now, sometimes, and I don't think any of these items ruled it, sometimes your sanctification is just a greater affix upgrade, which in essence does help with some builds, but not all. What you're really going for is, with sanctification, one of the biggest things that you're going for, especially build dependent, is your mythic uniques. You really like to have the Ring of the Starless Skies. You want to have that power imprinted on there, or you want to have the hair power printed on there, or especially the Shaco power, because the Shaco is +4 to skills. So you want to try and roll this mythic. That's a once in a great while. Once in every 3,000-4,000 I've seen people saying, maybe more. However, that's just a quick rundown on that stuff. Now, the last thing I was going to tell you about was the Nightmare Sigils. These are really important, especially if you're lacking in gems, because some of them have gem shrines, some of them have equipment, some of them have other things. One thing that you're looking for from there, especially if you're super end game, is called a Mythic Prankster. So you find the goblin that's within there, you kill the goblin, it's a mythic goblin. Once you kill him, he drops 5 mythics. That's important because if they're mythics that we don't need, we can salvage them for our sparks. Now, I think I'm getting a little ahead of people, especially when they're saying I don't even understand how to master work, but I kind of wanted to give that as a lowdown and kind of wanted to give that as a side note. As far as it goes, to me, that's where all the stuff is. It's in the Heavenly Forge. This is season 11. Come check me out on Twitch. I do try to give people sets. I've given away 5, I believe, Hammered-In sets. My Hammered-In's my main. I try to keep all that stuff in my stash. And when I give my sets away, I give it away with gems. And to give it away with all the aspects that you need, so you don't even have to go on the hunt for the aspects. You can come over here and you can go over here, destroy for your aspect. Then once you get your aspect, you can go over here and imprint it right away. Now, as far as all that and the Twitch thing, then if you're low on Paragon levels, I'm always Paragon leveling. It's free if you're with me. I have the materials, the boss materials, so Paragon levels are always free with me. And the Mother event's going on right now, so perfect time to get some Paragon points. Just showing you, hey, look, see all this? It's free. You guys can just come hang out with me. You'll get free levels. Then the other thing that I do is I'll run you through the pits. I'll jump on my Hammered-In and run you through pit 90s. That's so you can upgrade your glyphs as well. And like I said, I'm just here to try to help everyone. I'm not here to degrade anyone. I'm not here to say, oh, well, you should know what you're doing, because, you know, this is new to some people. I had a guy the other day that I helped out that was literally 2 weeks into the game. So I was thankful to be able to help him. But again, this is more of a video for new and returning players. Hope to see you in the Sanctuary.